So today I want to talk you through slashing. Now this is an example of slashing. This one was designed to sort of inspire people about the sort of sea and ocean theme. It's got straight lines, and basically what it's got in there is lots and lots of different layers of fabric. You don't have to do it with straight lines, you can do it with sort of lines that represent whatever it is that you are looking at. So to start something like this, what you would need first of all is quite a few different layers of fabric. The colours that you would be sort of looking at, inspired by say your artist's work or your maybe a photograph you took or anything along those kinds of lines. Then you're going to want to put several pins in here to hold them all together, so you need to go all the way through to the back layer. I tend to make the back layer be something fairly thick, because if it's quite a flimsy layer it's not really going to hold together if it's really flimsy. So just a few pins in there. Now I've shown you the example of the straight one. The one I'm going to do today is going to be curved, so this one's going to be inspired by say like a mushroom or something along those kinds of lines. Okay, so that would then go underneath as normal, and you'd want to reverse at the beginning and end, so that's the sort of backwards arrow button. So you'd start going forward, reverse for a couple of times, a couple of stitches, and then start going forward. So if I'm say focusing on this, you can see what I've got here is then the fabric starts moving, so you may need to readjust some of the pins as you see fit, and it's mainly because I picked a stretchy layer to go on top. So then you'd want reverse at the end again, take it out. Then you're going to want some more lines. Now the lines don't have to be totally the same width between them, they can be faster or slower. So you can consider how those might want to go. And with this I'd probably sort of like even everything out a little bit later on. So when you get to the pins, take them out. So I'll just do a couple more and then I'll show you the next bit. So you look at something like that. When you've got this like that, you can then use either an unpicker or a pair of scissors, to like a small pair, to then cut through some of these layers. Now personally I would take it one layer at a time. Main reason being that if you go all the way through all of these at once, it's not going to go through very well at first. But also you kind of risk, if you go through to the back layer, so the back layer needs no cuts on. If you go through to that back layer, it's all going to fall apart. So you'd get something like this, and then you'd use the unpicker to slide through, or a pair of scissors to cut through like this. And you're basically just sort of tearing open those sections. So you'd go through to however many layers you needed to, so you would make that decision. and then you'd think about how much sort of detail you want to show. The one that you've got there with the straight stitching is basically sort of ruffled up a little bit more. So unpicker does work, but I think I prefer the scissors on this fabric because I've chosen quite thick ones. If I've got my hand on the back there, I can tell that it's not going through to the final layer, so I'd think about that. Then when you've done your cuts along the lines, you probably want to shuffle these up a bit more, make them fray. So just use your sort of hands, your fingers. They get more distressed over time, and think about the different fabric choices you make when you're selecting them, because some fabrics fray really easily and some not so much. But you can sort of create different textures based on the amount of layers that you're cutting through. So this one, for example, has got all this orange and gold sort of colour underneath, but this one, if I've just gone through to that sort of pale pink layer, it then looks slightly different. So you could consider that as well. I'm not saying you have to use this, but just think about how it could relate to your work and how you could do it to a high standard rather than it just being a blank piece of fabric. Think about sort of how your things sort of work together. So if you're doing the sea, could it be done in sort of more curvy sort of lines to sort of represent that? If I'm doing some kind of fruit or vegetable, think about the lines that they take. But have a go and see how you get on with it.